Hello students, in this video we are going to do a very quick revision of the third chapter in 11 CBSE biology, that is Kingdom Plantae. So let us get the brief idea about the plants. Basically plants we are going to categorize into two groups. They are cryptogams, phanerogams. I'll repeat, cryptogams and phanerogams. Cryptogams means the plants which cannot produce seeds, cryptogams. And phanerogams, the plants which produce seeds, seed producing plants, phanerogams. The plants which does not produce seeds, cryptogams. Now cryptogams are of three types: Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta. Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta. Now, Thallophyta means here you cannot differentiate the plants. Usually जब हम plants देखते हैं, we can able to differentiate root, stem and leaf. Whereas in Thallophyta, we cannot able to differentiate any plant part. That's why they are considered as non-differentiated plant body. For example, algae. Now thallophytes are evolved into bryophytes. Means what? In bryophyta we can able to differentiate the plant body. Plant body we can differentiate. Now bryophytes evolved into pteridophytes. Here in pteridophyta we can differentiate the plant body. In addition to that, pteridophyta has vascular tissue. What are vascular tissue? The tissue which conducts water and minerals. Example, xylem. The tissue which conducts food, example, phloem. So these vascular tissues we can find in pteridophytes. Now phanerogams are the evolved part of pteridophytes, means seed producing plants. In that first one is gymnosperms. In gymnosperms we can find vascular tissue. In addition to that we can find seeds, but these seeds are naked, means they are not enclosed in fruit. And angiosperms are the seed producing plant, flowering plants, and seeds are enclosed in fruits. And angiosperms are of two types, dicot and monocot. Now let us know more about Thallophyta. Now Thallophyta, basically you can imagine algae where plant body cannot differentiate. Now in this chapter you have to give more importance to example that only going to be asked in the exam. Now algae, if for example unicellular algae, Chlamydomonas, colonial algae, here example is volvox. Many volvox are associated together to form colonies. Filament shape, filamentous algae, eulothrix and Spirogyra. These examples are very important. Now when you come to reproduction in algae, algae can produce vegetatively. A plant part can able to grow into a new plant. They can reproduce asexually, means single parent is going to involve in reproduction, and sexually by producing gametes also they can able to reproduce. Now come to the most important part of algae is commercial use. The first point here is hydrocolloids. Hydrocolloids means water holding substances. They are water holding substances. Example, algin. Algin is a hydrocolloid, water holding substance we are going to obtain from brown algae. And carrageen is also one of the water holding substance we are going to obtain from red algae. Another very important commercial uses of algae is agar. Agar is very important product which we can get from algae, which is used in the production of ice creams and jellies. Now agar is obtained from red algae like Gelidium and Gracilaria. Gelidium and Gracilaria are the red algae. From them we are going to obtain agar. Now another very important use of algae is some of the algae like chlorella and spirulina, they are very rich in protein, so that's why these algae can be used as a food or food supplement in space travelers. Now in algae, another very important topic is the types of algae. Basically three types of algae we can find: green, red and brown. Green algae called as chlorophyceae, red algae rhodophyceae, brown algae phaeophyceae. Children, chlorophyceae, green algae, rhodophyceae, red algae, brown algae are phaeophyceae. Examples here again, very important. Chlorophyceae example, Chlamydomonas, Volvox and Elothrix. In addition to these examples, please remember in Chlorophyceae you can find pigments like chlorophyll A and B. Stored food is starch. Cell wall is made up of cellulose. And green algae has 2 to 8 flagella which are of equal in size. These points also very important. In Rhodophyceae, red algae, example Gracilaria gelidium. And remember here these points, they have pigment chlorophyll A and D. In addition to that, phycoerythrin which is responsible for red color. The stored food is Floridian starch. The stored food is which one? Floridian starch. And cell wall is made up of cellulose, pectin and polysulfate ester. In addition to that, Rhodophyceae, red algae, they don't have flagella. Now come to brown algae, that is Phaeophyceae. Example, Ectocarpus, Dictyota, Laminaria. Examples are important. They have pigment chlorophyll A and C along with fucoxanthin which gives brown color. Stored food includes mannitol and laminarin. Mannitol and lamilarin. And cell wall is made up of cellulose and algin. In Phaeophyceae we can find 2 flagella and those flagellas are unequal. Now come to Bryophyta, children. The third class of plant kingdom. Bryophyta means here plant body can differentiate into root, stem and leaf. Most important point of Bryophyta is that they are considered as amphibians of plant kingdom. Amphibians of plant kingdom. Most important point, students. Why? They cannot complete their sexual reproduction or life cycle without water. They totally depends on water to complete their life cycle. That's why amphibians of plant kingdom. Yes. Now there are 2 types of bryophytes, mosses and liverwort. Again, examples are very important. Mosses, example Funaria, Polytrichum and Sphagnum. Liverwort example Marchantia. Now let us see the life cycle of bryophyte. The main plant body is gametophyte, which is haploid. Haploid means having one set of chromosome represented by small n. Gametophyte, children. Phyte means plant. Gameto means gamete producing plant. Gamete means what? Sex cells. Male and female sex cells. So gametophyte produce gametes. So what are gametophyte? Gamete producing plant body. They produce haploid gametes. Usually, you know, gametes will be in haploid only, haploid nature only, plants or animals. So gametophyte produce gametes, male and female gamete. Those gametes fused undergo syngamy, fertilization, to produce a diploid zygote. Now this zygote is a cell, diploid cell. By mitosis, it will produce 2, 4, 8, 16. It will divide to produce numerous cells and developed into a sporophyte. Spore producing plant body. Sporophyte means spore producing plant body. As it is evolved from zygote, that's why sporophyte is diploid in nature. Now this sporophyte, spore producing plant body, by meiosis, reductional division, it will produce haploid spores. Haploid spores, and those haploid spores developed into haploid gametophyte again. Like this, the cell cycles continuously repeat. And in the life cycle of bryophyte, we can find gametophyte phase is dominant. Gametophyte phase is dominant. Means around 75% of life cycle, we can find gametophytic stage. Haplophytic stage. That's why the dominant phase is gametophyte. Next comes to pteridophytes. Here pteridophytes, as we already learned, here we can find they are differentiated into different plants bodies, and in addition to that we can find vascular tissues in pteridophyta. Examples horsetails and fern. Importance of this group, they are very important in medicinal use, and they are soil binder, helps to prevent soil erosion. And remember here in pteridophyte, the dominant phase is sporophytic, like how we have explained here life cycle. In pteridophyta, the dominant phase is sporophytic, diploid sporophytic. And here you can find small leaf plant, they are called as chlorophylls, example Selaginella, and large leaf pteridophytes, example they are considered as macrophyls, example fern. Now next is gymnosperms. In gymnosperms we can find they are the naked seeded plant. The most important point, please remember here, is the tallest gymnosperm is sequoia, and you can, another word you please remember, mycorrhiza, means the roots of gymnosperms associated with fungi, example pinus, and here they helps in the absorption of nutrients, especially phosphorus. Now, based on the stem, gymnosperms may be unbranched, example cycas, and they may be branched, example pinus and cedrus. And the most evolved and dominant plants are angiosperms. Here we can find the seeds are covered in the fruit. They may be monocot, having single cotyledons, and they may be dicot, having two cotyledons. This is the structure of flower because angiosperms are flowering plants. And here you can find the female part is called as pistil or carpel, having stigma, style, and ovary. And male part is androecium. Units are stamen made up of anther and filament. Regarding this, we are going to learn in 12th CBSE sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Now, the last topic of this chapter is plant life cycle and alternation generation. Like how in Bryophyte we have learned how the gametophytes, haploid gametophytes, are going to produce gametes which are going to fuse to form zygote, and zygote develops into diploid sporophyte. Diploid sporophyte by mitosis, by meiosis produce haploid spores, and those haploid spores are converted to gametophyte. This is very easy, children. It is not so complicated. If you give your attention, you can very easily understand the life cycle in the plants, where gametophytes are haploid. They produce haploid gametes. These gametes fuse to form zygote. Zygote develops diploid sporophyte. Sporophyte produce haploid spores, and haploid spores produce haploid gametophyte. Haploid spore develops haploid gamete. That is called as plant life cycle or alternation generation. So alternation generation means in plant life cycle we can find gametophytes converts to sporophyte, sporophyte develops to gametophyte. This will continuously taken place. Now, based on the phase which is dominant, there are three types of plants. Haplontic life cycle, where gametophyte phase is dominant. Gametophytes phase is dominant, you can find in bryophytes. Diplontic, where diploid sporophytic phase is dominant, example in pteridophytes. Haplodiplontic, where you can find both the phases are dominant, gametophytic and sporophytic both are dominant, that we can find in angiosperms.